How you doing? Can you hear me now? Great. I don't have audio coming through for you guys. Check one, two. Can you hear me now? Hey. Hey, can you hear me now? Hey, can you hear me? Just checking to see if you can hear me. Can you hear me now? Check one. Can you hear me? Check. Can you hear me now? Hey, Orlando, can you hear me? Check one, two. Hey. All right. Can you hear me now? Hey, check one. Can you hear me now? Hello? Hey. Orlando, can you hear me now?
Hey, you're loud and clear, brother.
Awesome, awesome. Had to make one additional adjustment.
That's all right. I'm out here on this path, walking when the sun goes down.
Well, I am about to go live. Does everybody hears me talking to you right now? Well, good afternoon, or should I say good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome again to B.L.O.K. Sports. My name is Michael Jefferson, and it is great to be back here once again. Last week we experienced just a little bit of technical difficulty, and it seems like I was still having just a little bit, bringing in someone in from Zoom. But I got him in, and hopefully we'll be able to discuss just a little bit of what's going on in college football today. And I have joining me, I don't know how long he'll be able to be with me, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Orlando Hughes. And Mr. Hughes, are you available?
Wow, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Orlando Hughes. I'll take that compliment, Mike. Check will be sent to you via Vimo as soon as we're done.
Awesome, awesome. As a matter of fact, it's great to have you with me. And but before I go on, it's with a somber heart that, and even though, Mr. Hughes, you don't know these individuals that I'm about to mention, but these individuals were graduates of Jackson State. And Morris Armstrong, who was one of the drum majors I marched with my freshman year. We used to call him St. Aug because he was from New Orleans. And he graduated from school, St. Augustine, in New Orleans, Louisiana. He lost his beautiful wife this past week. And also another individual who is a member of the Indianapolis chapter here in, of course, Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Jackson State National Alumni Association, Joe Phillips. He's a graduate of Jackson State University, and he also was the student body president way back in the mid to late 70s. And his wife also transitioned this week. And to both Morris Armstrong, St. Aug, and Mr. Joe Phillips, my heart goes out to you and your family because losing a loved one, and especially losing your spouse, there's no easy way to express your condolences or express how you feel in a situation like that. The only thing that you can do is come alongside a friend like that just to say whatever you need. Whatever you need. We're there for you. We will be there with you. Whatever you need, because after the homegoing is over, the healing is still there. A good friend of mine who's in Albany State University, he lost his wife roughly about a year ago. And he is still going through the grieving period. Because once you lose your spouse, regardless whether it's a short period of time or you've been together for a long period of time, it's hard. And Eric Tabor, he's the individual. He's been on my show on several occasions, and I will be with him again. He will be on my show when we go down to Alabama for the Red Tails Classic. And for these individuals, may God be with you. May God continue to bless you. May God strengthen you and your family during your time of bereavement. Because the only thing that I can do right now is just lift you up in prayer for you and your family. And as I said, whatever you need, you got it. All you have to do is make a call. And as a matter of fact, I will be calling you to find out what I can do for you and your family. But I know in Joe's situation, he was preparing for it. And I know, Mr. Hughes, this was not something you were coming on the airwaves to talk about or to discuss. But in the loss of a loved one, it's just one of those things that it's real hard. And for these individuals, they were very, not were, but still are very good friends, very close friends of mine. And you talk about Morris Armstrong. He's in Jackson, Mississippi. You talk about a diehard Jackson State fan. He's still there doing a lot of things, working with the boom, making sure things happen with the boom. He's still getting information out about old boom members who have marched in the band and making sure that we keep up to date on things that are going on. Joe Phillips, he's always that person that's going, hey, are you going to the Southern Heritage Classic when Jackson State plays Tennessee State? And some of the times I'm able to go, some of the times I'm not. And I'm just going to find out where's his heart. If he's going to sit this last one out, or if he's going to try to go again this year. But we'll see. And as I said, to Morris and to Joe, may God be with you, and I will be checking on each of you. The homegoing for Morris Armstrong's wife will be this upcoming Saturday. I do not have any information for Mr. Phillips' wife. But as soon as I do, I will be passing that along to the Jackson State National Alumni Association, so that will be posted for those who are interested to provide flowers or condolences to each of them. And sorry to start this off on a somber note, but in sports, the one thing we have to remember is it's still a game. As much as we love it, as much as we love to watch it, as much as we love to play it, it's still a game. And life continues. Life goes on. But we always have to remember it's still a game. And Mr. Hughes, you are a graduate of Norfolk State University. And even
that I am.
and even though my plan was to not talk about the MEAC until next week, actually next week and the week leading up to the MEAC SWAC Challenge, which is going to be week 0. And week 0 is set to be August 27th. And we will be there live when Howard University from the MEAC will take on the Alabama State Hornets. So the Bison will take on the Hornets. So the question is, will there be a stampede or will there be a sting? And that will be the question on what will take place on that day. And what say you? How do you feel about this upcoming MEAC SWAC Challenge?
You know, I really can't gauge that one, Mike. I haven't looked at, now obviously we've spoken with Howard's coach.
Yes.
I just cut up those sound bites. Today's Tuesday, so it was Sunday that I finally listened to those interviews and cutting that up.
Yeah.
I haven't done enough homework on Alabama State this season to determine. But you know, Howard always travels in droves.
Okay.
But Alabama State, they don't have that far to drive.
No, they don't.
So this is usually, Atlanta's one of those 3 cities across the country, along with D.C. and Houston. Apologize for that guy flying so low. I think they're looking for me. You got me talking about Howard. check on me.
Understand.
So yeah, I'm hiding under the trees now as I do my walk.
See,
I can't gauge that one. So I promise I will come back on your show next week and speak with more figure, with more of an authoritative statement as to what's what. You know, I'm not anything but a wishy-washy person, but I can't put my tongue on that one. So
now
mute that comment.
Now, I don't know you as a wishy-washy person. One of the things I've known about you, Mr. Hughes, is you have always been straightforward like a rifle shot. And and so gauging your opinion on this,
that's we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
That's it. And that's the bottom line. And because you said so. And Stone Cold has nothing to do with this show. So,
nah.
As you can tell, I watch a lot of wrestling.
That's all right. Listen, I did my internship when I was at Clark Atlanta at WCW Wrestling in the '90s. So I got a chance to know a lot of those guys. So,
I understand. Gosh, I wish I had known you then. I would have loved to have been on those events with you. But that's another story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, another episode of Block Sports. That's
there
cool.
you go.
No problem.
There you go. But no, you go ahead and talk to me for, even though you have not done a lot of homework, but in the past, from what you've seen of Howard, even though this is their coach's, I believe it's his second year.
Second season.
Second season for the coach for Howard University. How do you feel with him putting in his packages, his philosophy, making sure that the team is listening to what he has to say? How do you feel about that?
Well, he said something to me, and I didn't even have to recall the tape, but he spoke on it more than the other coaches when we were at the MEAC Media Day. The fact that this is the first full season. We were in our sophomore year of COVID last year. Games were still interrupted. Students were still a little iffy. The conferences were iffy. Hell, America was iffy.
Yeah.
So there were things that you would like to have implemented, whether it be a package or a system, that he wasn't able to do. And I heard another coach say to me, actually it was Coach Odoms that said this, when you come in and you get your seniors and your juniors, Coach Odom said it's like marrying a woman that has juniors and seniors in high school. Those kids may never call you dad, but they'll grow to respect you. But if there's an 8-year-old in the house,
yeah,
by the time that child, gets to their 30s, they're gonna call you dad. And the way he pointed it out, it makes sense.
Never thought about it like that.
Yeah. So the juniors and seniors, how much are you really buying in? And it's no knock to them or calling them bad kids. But they were brought in by another coach, kind of made their way through another system. Now, this guy comes in. It's Howard. Howard doesn't need any publicity next to your Tigers.
Yes.
They're the most known name. And if it wasn't from that white comet that landed in Jackson.
Oh, you saw that, huh?
Talk about how. Yeah, I saw. I definitely. Aviation is my thing. Stars are my key. So, but that white comet that landed in Jackson, Mississippi, he's brought that attention. But hell, the only thing that's bigger than him is the first, Madam Vice President of Howard, and of course all of the names.
Yes.
So it's there. So, yep.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting on whether or not Coach Scott can do something about the upcoming MEAC SWAC Challenge that will occur on the 27th, because no one, I repeat, no one is giving them a chance in that particular game. Everybody, and even Coach Robinson for Alabama State, he essentially laid down the gauntlet that they're going to win the game. And now, granted, just like Coach Scott said, and just like Coach Odom said, this first year coming in, people are getting used to you. They don't know you, trying to learn who you are, what foods you like, how you like your pillow, how you like going to bed, how you like getting up. And it's a new marriage. And after that first year is over, now I kind of know who you are. I know what foods you like. I know what you like to drink. I know if you like it in a cup. I know if you like it in a glass. I know what time you like your dinner. I know what time you like your lunch, and so on and so forth. And yes, we're still talking about football. But yet and still, but yet and still, it's still a learning process of who are you, what do you think is going to happen, and whether or not the second year will be a big year. Because if you remember, this guy called Coach Sanders over at Jackson State, his first season, it was during the spring of the year, albeit. But he said, "You better beat me now." I remember those words. Ooh. He said, "You better beat me now, because after this, it's going to be tough." Those were the words of Coach Prime. And so far, even though he's only been coaching college football for 2 seasons, this is going into his 3rd season. So far, he's lived up to those words. Everybody had their time at beating Jackson State. Well, some were successful and some were not during the spring of the year. But then Jackson State came out in the fall. And in the SWAC conference, they, outside of a couple of close games, they pretty much had their way. Florida A&M, their inaugural year in the SWAC conference, they almost upset the apple cart from Jump Street. But Jackson State was able to pull out a victory by a score of 7-6 in the Orange Blossom Classic. Southern University was another team that almost came away with an upset victory in Baton Rouge, a place where no one wants to play. But after that, Jackson State, of course, came out victorious, but then they ran into Coach Buddy Pugh. And these are guys that you know, Mr. Hughes.
Buddy was proud of that one.
Say again?
Buddy was proud of that one. He made sure he mentioned it about 3 times during a 5-minute interview. It was mentioned 3 times.
Yes, he did, and I specifically asked him about that game. And the one thing Coach Pugh mentioned in that Jackson State, South Carolina State game in the Celebration Bowl, the specific play that I mentioned was the 4th and 19. You remember that play? Don't know if
you remember it more because that's your alma mater. I was watching the game, but I wasn't necessarily as attentive. So
yeah,
I am a poor guest tonight, Mike, and I apologize.
Oh, no, you're good.
And my attention is being diverted because the police are looking for someone, and they just asked me. But some kids are just firing fireworks here in suburban Philadelphia.
Well, you being a black man with police in your neck of the woods, be careful.
Well, no, I'm good because remember what I drive, and that's why I drive that. They don't bother a black man driving that car.
Understand. I understand. Well, going back to Coach Pugh, I asked him specifically about the 4th and 19 play, and he mentioned that he had thrown out his field goal unit. And then one of the other coaches said to him, "I think we can make it." And so he said, he called a timeout. and he brought the offense over to the side, but he also kept the field goal unit over to the side with him. And the reason why he decided to do that is to confuse Jackson State, to make sure they didn't know what was going on, to keep them wondering. So make a long story short, he talked to his quarterback, and he told his quarterback, hey, this particular play has been open, even though we've missed it a few times, but we believe we can hit it. And he asked the quarterback, how you feel about it? The quarterback was like, yeah, I think we can do it. So the coaches, especially his offensive coordinator, said, yeah, we can do this. Coach Pugh looked and said, yeah, we can do it. But the smart play, the one play that he did was not on the field. It was off the field, where he kept both the the field goal unit and the offense in the same huddle. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what won the game. Because Jackson State, even though South Carolina State was still they were leading the game, but to me that was the play that essentially won the game for South Carolina State.
All right. Gamesmanship. Yeah. And it's although Prime brings a lot as far as what he knows and his knowledge to coach a game and to be in those situations, you basically are saying, I'm not going to allow you to react. So you got to do one or the other.
That's right.
So you got to keep your special teams and your defense together to outthink me, or whatever team you put on here. I'm going to beat you. So yeah, man, that's what Coach Hughes has done, because he's 22 years at South Carolina State. That's 22 years of MEAC football, and other things that he's had as a head coach there. So,
I
can see him saying that. Yeah.
And you, everything that you just said, essentially said it. It was nothing but gamesmanship, and because of the gamesmanship that was played in that game, he won. And even though, if you look all across the line, Jackson State essentially had the better team. But because of the coaching prowess and everything else that he brought to the game, Coach Pugh won. Never underestimate an old head coach. Now, of course, Coach Pugh would probably slap me upside my head by calling him old, but he's a more mature coach. Let's just say it like that.
Yeah, he probably would, definitely. You had one of them helmets with that bulldog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flying by you. I'm gonna have to shield you, brother.
Yeah. He let's just say he's a more mature coach. And one of the other things that I do want to point out is something else that Jackson State just did, and I'm looking for it now, so I apologize, but I'm hoping that I have the coach's correct name. But Coach Zimmerman, Jackson State is bringing him on as an analyst for their football program.
Right.
And I'm just hearing about this. And can you imagine having another big-time head coach alongside you, giving you that type of energy, that type of experience, that type of knowledge, coming alongside of you and saying, hey, have you considered doing this? Have you considered doing that? And another thing that he indicated was that, I'm glad you're coming along and free, since we don't have to pay you because we can't afford you. And that's what that's what Coach Prime said.
Look, those relationships that he's building up, the brand that is Deion Primetime Sanders.
Yes.
They're all coming full circle for him.
Yes, they are.
And you bring Zimmer, and Zimmer's known for his defensive mind. And he's going to bring a look, I should say, looks to Jackson State that that same scenario and a nice setup with Buddy Pugh. He's going to force the other coaches to react to what he's doing. And I'll bring it up here to Philadelphia a bit. It's the Chip Kelly effect of basically, and Sean McVay.
Yeah.
Of keeping it fast-paced offense.
Yes, and I'm sorry. Let me correct his name, Mike Zimmer. I wanted to
Zimmer. Yep.
I wanted to make sure that I gave a correct pronunciation of his last name, and it is Mike Zimmer, and he's coming on for an analyst role at Jackson State. And
listen, it's not like your guys, Jackson, Mississippi. You got to drive a little bit to get to some water. They don't have beaches down there or anything. So, so Prime to just sell that as a place.
Yes.
He's selling it as family that takes care of each other. He's selling how Mississippi loves football. He's selling the South. And he's doing a lot for that locale. So I suggest if Dion was driving 600 miles an hour down the town road in Jackson, Mississippi, he better not get a ticket for all the attention that he's getting for that university.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Hey.
But you know what? You pointed out something, the locality of Jackson State University. And I did a short but quick search of where some of the major colleges are located in the country. Where is the University of Alabama? Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa. Yep.
What is in Tuscaloosa?
Nothing but some good barbecue.
Notre Dame. What is in South Bend? Exactly.
The bend where it's the bend that bends south. That's the only thing.
Exactly. IU, Indiana University, Bloomington.
Yep.
I've been there for several events, filmed and streamed many high school track and field events at their stadium. Been there for other games, other events. There's nothing there other than IU. Purdue, West Lafayette, nothing.
Yep.
Ole Miss, Mississippi State.
Oxford, yep. Oxford, yeah.
And Starksville. There's nothing there. Now, that's where my dad is born, in Starksville, Mississippi. But nothing. Now, Jackson State happens to be in the capital of the state of Mississippi, but it's still Mississippi. But when you look at LSU, in the capital of Louisiana, which happens to be Baton Rouge, Louisiana, what's there?
Right.
Not much.
Gators?
A little bit farther south, but yes. Yes. But the bottom line is, when you look at all of these schools, the only thing you have to attract coaches, to attract players, is the actual university itself. Because when you look at these schools, the city just so happened to build around the university. You talk about South Bend, you have Notre Dame. What are you going to do in South Bend? You go to Notre Dame. What are you going to do? You will probably work for Notre Dame. I used to live in a town many years ago, and it's called Midland, Michigan. And the town is very small, but it happens to have one of the major corporations in the world, not just in the United States, but in the world, and it is Dow Chemical. The mayor worked at Dow Chemical, just to let you know. He worked at Dow Chemical, and the only thing that was there was Dow Chemical. Everybody worked for Dow. Now, of course, you had other places and other small businesses there, but Dow made up Midland, Michigan. There are other businesses that make up these small towns. They grow up and they make up the town because people have to work for those businesses.
Fayetteville, Arkansas. Fayetteville, Arkansas is Walmart.
Walmart.
You know, that's, yeah.
And very good point. So what's in Arkansas? Nothing except Walmart for Fayetteville, Arkansas. And so when you look at that, hopefully with this, you will be able to have a larger draw. And a lot of individuals look at a Jackson State. They look at an A&T. They will look at a Norfolk State. They'll look at a Southern, FAMU. They'll just look at an HBCU and they'll just say, why would I invest my time there? But I would say to you, why not? Why make the rich richer? If you're all of that and the bag of chips and the horse you rode in on, why not prove your mettle and make it bigger? Prove my point. Now, the coach, and his name escapes me, the track coach for North Carolina A&T, who just left North Carolina A&T and is now coaching and will be coaching the University of Tennessee track and field team. He built a national team that was recognized not only nationally, but he had athletes to run on the world scale. And so we can't say it can't be done because he proved it. And the one thing I'll say more than anything else is that it can be done. And I challenge anyone to say, why not a Norfolk State? Why not a Howard University? Why not a Jackson State? Now, a lot of schools, a lot of HBCU schools, and you probably know more than I do, Mr. Hughes, of all of the schools that have that have former coaches, former NFL players that are now coaching in football and now coaching at HBCU schools. But the one thing we can easily say about what Coach Sanders has done is that he has brought eyes to Jackson State and also to HBCU sports. Now, since we're on HBCU sports, and I'll bring up real quick Mike Zimmer, and this is the individual that I'm talking about, and he is coming along to JSU. And as I said, his name is new hire alert. Jackson State hires former Minnesota Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer for analyst role. And here is Mike Zimmer. And this is courtesy of Facebook. I want to mention where I got this information from. Give credit where credit is due first. But the bottom line is that these are things that are going on in HBCU world. And Mr. Hughes, you brought up something that was very good point. It's all about relationships. And because of the relationship that he had with all of these former coaches and all of the players that were out there previously, look at what he's able to do. Look at what he was able to come alongside and was able to do. And see, Mr. Hughes had to get off, and I do understand that. But because of the relationships that Coach Sanders, or should I say, prior to him being Coach Sanders, but as prime time, the relationship he had with all of these individuals. As Coach Sanders, he's able to bring all of these individuals along to build up Jackson State. My comment to Coach Sanders is there's one thing. I said it earlier, and I've said it before. If by chance you happen to leave Jackson State, or you desire to leave Jackson State, my only comment and request to you is to coach at another HBCU. Don't go to a Power 5 school. Don't go to any of the other FBS schools. And the reason being, don't make the rich richer. I'll repeat it again. Do not make the rich richer. This is what HBCU schools need. Now, granted, he did not attend an HBCU. He went to Florida State. And he was very successful at Florida State. Coach Sanders eventually received a degree from Talladega. And so congratulations to him on that. But my thing is, if you by chance leave Jackson State, don't go to another Power 5. Don't go to an FBS school. Go to another HBCU. Build them up. Make them proud of their alumni, of their school, of their team, and show your coaching prowess. But hopefully you're able to stay at a Jackson State and do what Coach Gordon did. He won 28 games in a row in the SWAC conference. He never could get over the hump and be successful in the playoffs. But hopefully you can get over the hump and be even more successful than Coach Gordon. W.C. Gordon was a hard coach. He demanded a lot, and he was able to achieve a lot. So hopefully you'll be able to do the same thing at Jackson State during your time, whether it's another 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years. But for however long you decide to stay at Jackson State, we hope it's for a long time. And if and when you decide to leave to coach somewhere else, I hope that it's at another HBCU. And that's just my 2 cents. And that's my goal. And that's my hope for what you will probably end up doing. And I know because of your abilities, 1, to build relationships, 2, to be able to put together a coaching staff, and 3, to be able to bring in players that want to learn and that want to play for a charismatic coach that's not only charismatic but can actually coach, and that can actually bring in coaches that can come alongside and teach these players and prepare them for the next level of going to the NFL. Excuse me. Now, don't get me wrong. We have a lot of other programs. Albany State, the Bowie States of the world, Prairie View, South Carolina State, Norfolk State, Southern, Alcorn, Grambling. We have all of these schools, Alabama State, Alabama A&M. We have all of these other schools that have produced NFL players and that are still performing very well. Akil Glass, unfortunately, went through minicamp at Tampa Bay, but unfortunately he was unsuccessful in making the team. So the only thing that we can say, I'm keeping my eyes and ears open to find out where he is. The last word I was able to receive is that he is looking to play in the XFL. But hopefully he has an opportunity to play in the NFL. If not this year, then maybe next year. Because I know he's a great talent. And some of the passes I saw him throw, yes, he can thread the needle. And why he didn't make the team, don't know. Was not able to get a lot of information from that. But I do plan to see what I can do to get information for you on a Quill Glass and what transpired in his minicamp debut for Tampa Bay. But as we continue to look, the goal was today to take a closer look at the SIAC and hopefully get an idea of what will transpire. I was able to talk to a buddy of mine who happens to work at Albany State, and each of us, to make a long story short, we just don't see anyone that's capable of upsetting Albany State this year. This year. There will be a lot of contenders. There's a lot of options out there. But to actually come out and defeat Albany State this year, just don't see it. Miles College, they have a chance. Now, in their particular division, I just don't see anyone that can perhaps step up to the plate and defeat Albany State this year. I just at the moment I just don't see it. It will be a tall order to find out what team will be able to defeat Albany State this year. Just don't see it. It's just going to be one of those things that if a team is able to come up and defeat Albany State, they will have been able to put together all of the pieces at the right time. But it'll be interesting to see whether or not that'll be possible. I know I intend to keep a close eye on each and every team that plays against Albany State this year, and I intend to keep a close eye. The one team that I did give an opportunity, a chance to, was Savannah State University. But the information that I've received from Savannah State is that as far as Savannah State was concerned, a lot of their players left when they changed coaches. Savannah State, their first year coming into the league, they defeated Albany State. Last year, Savannah State's only loss was to Albany State. And this year should have been the year that Savannah State should have been able to say, you know what, you got us last year, but this year is going to be our year. But unfortunately, with a lot of change and a lot of things that have taken place with Savannah State, I don't think it's going to be their year, unfortunately. A team that could challenge them possibly next year, but not this year, will be Benedict. And they're in their conference, their division. As I said a couple of weeks ago, I had a chance to see Benedict play against Kentucky State. And even though Kentucky State, I just don't see them doing very much this year because Coach Jackson, he's no longer at the university. He brought together an option that just ran over everyone. In the games they lost, they were close. And even the game against Miles College, they should have won. But they were playing their fourth-string quarterback. And as someone pointed out to me, when you run the option, you best have a lot of quarterbacks, because what happens is the quarterback will take a lot of punishment, or you better have a very tough quarterback, because when you run the option, that option is going to put a lot of pain in on that quarterback. Albany State actually plays the option, or they run a form of the option. It's been projected that they will probably go roughly about 50-50 run pass, possibly this year. But who knows? Because they have to make sure that they protect their team, protect the quarterback. But they've been very successful. But think about it. If they're not able to run, they got a hell of a defense. And that defense will always keep them in games. And just to watch them play, just to watch what will happen, will be very interesting. Now, in the other division for the SIAC, you have Miles College, and you have Lane, and Tuskegee. And as far as I can see, those may be the schools that you have to worry about in that division. I just don't see, I might be wrong, because I have been wrong only on a handful of occasions, just a handful of occasions. But I can only say, and I can only see just a handful of, just a couple of schools that can even contend with. And the only reason why I just mentioned this division is because of the possibility of what Miles can possibly do with an Albany State in this particular conference. And as far as I'm concerned, I can see Albany State making it back to the championship game, perhaps against either Miles College or Tuskegee. Tuskegee is projected to finish third, but I can see upsets because Miles College is not the Miles College we are familiar with. And I can see a changing of the guard. Kentucky State almost did it last year. If Coach Jackson had been there this year, that would be a total changing of the guard in that particular division. I can easily say that because I saw what they were bringing to the table. And in that Western Division, in the West Division for the SIAC, there would have been a changing of the guard. Kentucky State would have been number one, followed by Miles College. But now we'll see what Coach Johnson will bring to the table and whether or not they will be able to turn the tide or remain in the position and just surprise everyone and be the second place team right behind Miles College. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see because that's something I intend to do, is to make sure that I follow them very closely in that. And then we take a look at the CIAA, and we'll talk more about the CIAA next week. But I do want to just talk about the CIAA real quick, where you have the defending CIAA champs for the last 3 years, Bowie State University. And right now, their coach, Coach Wilson, he is no longer with Bowie State University. He is now the head coach of Morgan State University in the MEAC. And that was a brand new change for me when I happened to see the new coach for Bowie State. And let me see if I can bring that information up here for you. And maybe I can, maybe I cannot. But the one thing I can easily say is that for Bowie State, they're going for 4 in a row. That's what they said. That's the way the players feel. And they have no doubt that they're able to do it. And how do I know it? Because that's what their belief is. And when I had a chance to talk to Coach Jackson, who is now the head coach for the Bowie State Bulldogs, Coach Jackson, he is right now listed as the interim coach for the Bowie State Bulldogs. And he actually served as linebacker and tight ends coach from 2011 to 2013. So he is not a stranger to Bulldog country. But he was officially named as interim May 26th of this year. And he's entering his 6th overall season with the Bulldogs. And it'll just be interesting to see how this team performs under Coach Jackson. Young cat, young dude. Looks like he can still play. He's just that young. And when I had the opportunity to see him at the media day, you very seldom catch me speechless. But when I actually had a chance to see him doing media day, I just sat there and I looked and I said, wait a minute. Who are you? And I literally said that because I was expecting to see Coach Wilson. And that brought on a whole new dynamic because here it is. Dude looked like one of his other players that he brought to be with him during media day. But that was a great conversation because they're expecting to win with all fervor. But don't get me wrong. You have Shaw that's out there. You have Fayetteville State. Fayetteville State, I can tell you right now, of all the schools that are out there, Fayetteville State is hungry. And why are they hungry? Because they have been there 4 years in a row. And in 4 years, they have been the bridesmaid. 4 years. 4 years in a row, they have been the bridesmaid in the CIAA football championship game. So I can tell you, coming out of the Southern Division, Fayetteville State is coming for them. Shaw, who's in the Southern Division. So whoever wins out of the Southern Division, I can tell you right now, they are going to give Bowie State all they can handle. But let's not just go to the Southern Division. Let's just stay in the Northern Division where Bowie State is. Virginia Union is still going to give them all they can handle, as well as Virginia State and possibly even Shawan with their new head coach. Well, not new, but he's only been there for just a couple of years. But at the same time, let's just say, they're looking to upset the apple cart. And with Virginia Union, Coach Parker, he's been there since 2019. And so it'll just be interesting to see whether or not Bowie State can continue to be the class of the CIAA football conference. But we'll go into more details about the CIAA, how they look, and what will transpire in that game. And that will be on the 23rd. But on the 23rd, which is next Tuesday, even though we will talk a little bit about the CIAA, we will focus more on the B.L.O.C.K Challenge against Alabama State and Howard University. The Bison against the Hornets. And even though I'm a Southwest Athletic Conference person, been in the SWAC all my life, I'm just interested to see whether or not the SWAC will win, and they will only have their 5th win in the B.L.O.C Challenge. Now, outside of conference play, outside of the B.L.O.C Challenge, that one particular game, The SWAC has been successful. But in the MEAC SWAC challenge, that particular game hadn't been successful. 11-4. Last year, let's just look at it. Last year, Alabama A&M defeated South Carolina State. As I say again, South Carolina State was defeated by Alabama A&M. Now, Jackson State ran roughshod over Alabama A&M. I mean, just rode them. I can't say that on the air. So, but anyway, game wasn't even close. Hence the reason why a lot of people felt that Jackson State was going to have their way against South Carolina State. But as I said, we will delve a lot more into what we think about the CIAA as well as the MEAC SWAC Challenge. And so it's coming upon the 9 o'clock hour, and I'm hoping that you guys can join me next week. And if you are able to join me next week, we will come on board, and we're hoping that you will be able to come on board with us and join us as we discuss more and more about this upcoming football season and what the MEAC SWAC Challenge is going to be about, and whether or not the SWAC still comes up short, or whether or not the SWAC will finally win it back, and whether or not they can not only win the MEAC SWAC Challenge, but go on to win the Celebration Bowl. But we will see what transpires. And until next week, folks, may God bless you. May God keep you. Stay safe and have a great rest of the day.